what I learned was, man, I got to sell a lot of final expense and I really don't get anything the next year. But these med sups that I sell every now and then, I keep getting these checks for. The light bulb went off.
Today's guest has a really cool YouTube channel. And you guys, if you sell Medicare, you need to be checking out because he has a lot of killer training. The YouTube channel is called Medicare Millennials. With that being said, please welcome Kenny Lehmans.
What's up, everybody? I'm super glad to be here today. Hopefully I can talk a little bit about the Medicare industry and let y'all know what's working for me.
I love it. I love it. So let's kind of start from the beginning. What is it that got you into Medicare sales? Were you recruited by an MLM or something like that, or just how did that all happen?
Yeah, so I'll try to give you the super short version, but I started in the insurance business. I'm 34. I was about 24. I can't remember exactly. I was an accountant. I had a great job in Dallas, but with one of the big four accounting firms, but it was super boring. And I was looking, maybe I might want to do sales. Got recruited into a group interview for insurance. Okay. This was a captive but quasi-independent senior market insurance agency. So what I mean by that is we were captive to this agency, but they offered a different final expense products and different Medicare supplements. So we didn't just have one product, but everything had to be done through them. Okay.
Of course.
So we mostly focused on that time final expense. That was what paid the bills. Okay. So I learned at that first few years just how to cold call, how to work some direct mail leads, how to door knock. And then occasionally we'd sell some med sup and we would sell some ancillary products, but really we were paying the bills with final expense. Okay. And what I learned was, man, I got to sell a lot of final expense and I really don't get anything the next year. But these med sups that I sell every now and then, I keep getting these checks for. The light bulb went off. So that's how I started. And I left that agency so that I could go really independent, right? So that I could own my book of business and that type of thing. But I was still young, still fairly new. And so I mostly focused on final expense that first couple years independent, but I did more and more Medicare. So fast forward to 4 years ago, I now have a good foundational understanding of the senior market. I'm a good salesperson. I had never sold Medicare Advantage to this point, about 4 years ago. And I'd only done med sup, ancillary, and final expense. And a buddy called me that also left that first agency and said, Kenny, we've been missing the boat. They brainwashed us. Medicare Advantage is where it's at. It's booming. There's no underwriting. Like, you got to do this. So he talked me into it, and I've never looked back. And Medicare Advantage and Med Sup have been my primary line of insurance ever since.
Beautiful. Now, you've been doing this for a while, and I know you kind of have an agency. However, the one thing that I think is unique about what you do in your YouTube channel is you don't really, your goal isn't to recruit agents, but you do have a consulting agency. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Life insurance agents. If you'd like 20 life insurance appointments on your calendar every single day, all set by the clients themselves who actually expect to speak with you about burial life insurance, or if you'd like a copy of the free new agent remote sales file, lots of killer sales materials, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com or click on the link below in the description.
Yeah, so I have recruited agents over the years, and I have still have some agents in my downline. What I learned, being honest with myself over time, as I have a young family and I'm very involved like in my church and in my community, was that training and recruiting agents is a full-time job in and of itself. And so I knew I'm a teacher by nature. I'm gifted at that. I love helping new agents, but I just didn't want to recruit them and manage them. So over the course of my career, I've focused more on building a great local insurance agency and just coaching other agents by fee, mostly, who want to glean off of what's working for me. And then I, of course, if any of you haven't visited my YouTube channel, I've got probably 300 or 400 videos that I just like to share with people. Here's what's working. Here's what's doesn't cost you a penny. And then people will call or reach out to me from that if they want my consulting or coaching services.
Tell us a little bit about your seminars.
Yes. Okay. So when I was newer in the business, like most agents, I went through a progression. And that was like cold calling for final expense, then like what we called B leads, which were aged direct mail leads, then new direct mail leads, then Facebook became a big thing. So I did a bunch of Facebook leads, and there's merits to all of those sources. So, we can touch on those if needed. But what I found over time was that leads, if you can get face-to-face with a group of people, especially seniors, you're going to have the best relationship and the best bet to close them. So remember, 4 years ago, I added Medicare Advantage. And about a year after that, I did my first seminar for people turning 65. The reason that I love that is because it's a little more expensive and you have to know your stuff. You can't go get in front of 15, 20, 30 people and not know what you're doing. Okay. So you got to have a little bit of experience under your belt. But if you get with the right services to help you fill the seminar, I had fun. I love getting in front of these people, teaching and interacting. I have a high close ratio, and I have a phenomenal referral ratio from my seminars. And so again, they're not for final expense. They are not specifically for Med Advantage or Medicare Sup. They are literally an educational seminar to teach people that are about 6 months to a year from turning 65 how to enroll in Medicare, what it's going to cost them, and then just broadly, what choices do they have for insurance once they get there. Do all that for free, pro bono, and guess what? They're going to use you to pick their plan when the time comes around. So you can pick me apart for more info on that, but that's the general strategy there.
Got it. So you're marketing not just Medicare Advantage, not just Medicare supplements, but other products too. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah. So because of the nature of Medicare, and I think a lot of agents, Doug, miss the boat on this, is actually Medicare enrollment goes hand in hand with Social Security enrollment. So inevitably, all of your clients will have either recently started taking Social Security, want to take it at the same time as they enroll in Medicare, or are trying to figure out if they should delay for a little bit. So if you can learn as much about the enrollment process of Social Security as you know about Medicare, it opens the door wide open for life insurance and annuity product sales. Because when they plan for their Social Security income, they open up about what their other sources of income are or their lack of sources of income. So if they've got a lack of sources of income, they may need a final expense policy or a gap policy to help pay copays on their medical. If they've got a surplus of income, then they may want a safer investment option like a fixed annuity. So that's how we leverage what we already understand and know into selling other products through these seminars. And you don't sell them at the seminar. You just open the door to them. And then as you meet them down the road on one-on-one appointments, you begin to do that.
Got it. So with the seminars, let's say I'm an insurance agent, and what you're doing, it sounds good with the consulting and the seminars. What would you suggest for me to do to be able to put on these type of seminars and to do what you're doing?
It will honestly, the biggest hurdle really shouldn't be the learning process, because most of what I know you can learn through AHIP and then through your first 50 meetings with MAPD and MedSup clients. Okay. So that hurdle, it's not really a hurdle. You just might not want to do this day one. You might want to go sit one-on-one with some people first and make sure your FMO's provided that foundational training. The hurdles to doing this are understanding like who to partner with to fill the seminar for you, right? Like, who do I use, right? Like, who's going to send out the mailers or the Facebook ads and make sure people show up, paying that service. Okay. So you can, that cost, at least $1,500 per seminar, really. You could do it cheaper if you did it all by yourself. But if you're going to just use a professional service, it can cost you around $1,500. And then the final hurdle is like your finished package. So you walk into my seminar, I've got my signs up, I've got a folder to give you with information, I've got a beautiful PowerPoint. You know all that information, but how do you package it and bring it to the seminar? I actually sell that. So if people go to my website, MedicareMillennials.com, they can buy my, it's like my resources pack. It includes my seminar PowerPoint. And I also coach people on that. So you can pay for a consulting call, buy the package, and I'll kind of walk you through how to get started. The point is, the hurdle isn't the knowledge. The hurdle is the money and the know-how to fill the seminar, and then how to package it up nice and pretty, be compliant and effective at the seminar.
Very cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about independent agents that are selling Medicare and other type of products like this. Do you think most of the independent agents are doing telesales or face-to-face sales nowadays? And which direction are you seeing most agents going in?
Wow, that's a great question. So I think the thing ever since COVID has been telesales have been on the rise. Okay. And so my estimation would be, if we're talking independent agents, there's probably still more face-to-face agents, but it's probably, I'm just guessing here, it's probably close now to even, or maybe even telesales agents are surpassing the amount of face-to-face agents. However, I personally recommend not battling, don't go to battle against the call centers. So what I mean by that is, you either need to join them or don't fight that battle on that hill, okay? Because you're going to lose if you're trying to outspend and outcall and outwork a massive call center with hundreds of hourly employees that are just bombarding these agents. So if you want to join them, there might be organizations that are a good fit for you to plug into that model. But if you're a brand new agent, I recommend taking a more local approach. We're our superpower as an independent agent is that, Betty, what's great about working with me is I am not a call center. If you need something, you get to call me or my office directly. You're always going to have a real person you can trust during the open enrollment each year to help renew you and answer your questions. This strategy can be done over the phone. But even if you do this strategy over the phone, which is don't be like the call center, be contrary to the call center, okay? You can do this in person or over the phone, but it's going to be more local. So we want to focus on at most one state or one region, but in a perfect world, one area within a state. So I live near Dallas, Fort Worth. There's no reason for me to sell much more than 50, 60 miles around that area because there's millions of people. And I can make the argument that I'm a real local agent, even if they live 50 miles away from me. So I think if you don't have a lot of experience, it's much harder to be compliant, to buy leads that are good, and to compete against the call centers if you jump straight into telesales on your own. It's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Well, you mentioned leads, so let's go there. What type of lead programs do you recommend for independent agents?
Okay, so this is going to depend on your goals and your budget, right? So there is no one size fits all. I think that the easiest lead for a new agent is still a direct mail lead, believe it or not, because it's so simple and it's predictable cost-wise. So what I mean by that is if you have a partner with a mailing company that mails out 1,000 flyers on your behalf, business or placards, you know you're going to get somewhere between 5 to 20 leads back, depending where you live in the country. Okay. So now you know your cost, you know about how many you're going to get back, and you can now predict pretty reasonably how much money you need to spend and how many people you're going to talk to from those leads. Now, with that being said, direct mail is more expensive than it used to be. So it's not the only game in town. So direct mail, great place to research more and start there. Another option is Facebook leads. I'm not the biggest fan of them personally because I think that they're far lower quality than a direct mail lead or a seminar or even local marketing. So here's the pros of a Facebook lead: fast and volume. Okay, so you could crank up volume and you can get them quickly. So if you're willing to call lots and lots of leads that a lot of people aren't going to remember filling out, or they're just getting bombarded because they filled that Facebook lead out, they filled out others. So if you're willing to deal with a lot of no's and call a lot of people, then Facebook leads can get you going fast. They can get you a lot of people to talk to. So that's another popular method. And then the other two that I'll mention are seminars, which I already went over, and just grassroots marketing. It works so well for two lines of insurance: home and auto and Medicare. If you are just willing to go to chamber meetings, church events, local festivals, food pantries, volunteer, all these different local events, and you represent yourself as an agent that helps with Medicare or tries to help people save money on home and auto. I just mentioned that because those are two things. You don't have to buy leads for these two markets. People will buy from you if you get out in the community and just tell people what you do. I think that's a great option for people that aren't in a rush. In other words, maybe they've got savings, another income, or a spouse. Then you can do grassroots marketing and over the course of 2 years, ramp it up and build your business that way. I kind of gave 4 different options there. There's others, but I hope that was helpful.
As far as agent resources are concerned, and I know you've got your consulting agency, of course, are there any books or even like maybe other channels or websites that you would recommend?
Yeah, so first thing I would say, I've got a couple things here. First thing I would say is if you're a newer agent and you're interested in Medicare, selling Medicare, doing Medicare, take your time on your AHIP and your carrier certifications. Now in year 2 and 3 and 4, you'll probably just speed through it because it'll become more second nature and you just got other things on your plate and it's annoying to spend your time on certifications. When you're new, the AHIP is literally everything you need to know to be compliant. Don't ask me how to be compliant. Don't even rely on your FMO on how to be compliant. The AHIP is the horse's mouth as far as them taking what CMS wants and giving it to the agent. So it teaches you the fundamentals of Medicare, the different plan options, and how to be compliant. Then the carrier certifications expand on that and say, you just took AHIP. Now here's how that applies to us specifically as Cigna, as Humana. So that's resource number 1. Take your time on that. Resource number 2 is YouTube. Watch Doug Massi, watch Medicare Millennials, there's so many good resources out there. I know like Christian Brindle has a great channel. 8% Nation has so many good interviews. David Duford is like the OG of insurance YouTube. You're gonna find great interviews and great insight on YouTube. And then the final thing I would say is don't underestimate. Well, let me say this. You need to have a good FMO. Your FMO's job is to give you good contracts, so all the contracts you need, connect you with training and marketing resources. They may not buy your leads for you, but they should coach you on how you're going to get your leads at a minimum. But they also should keep you abreast of what's changing. So me as an agent may not have time to know what did CMS change this year? What is United Healthcare pulling plans out of my area, right? But your FMO should stay on top of that type of thing. So if your FMO is not providing any value in that area, you might want to reevaluate your FMO. They're not doing what an FMO should do, which is providing that. So I hope, was that kind of what you were looking for? That's how I stay on top of things.
It was. That was good. That was good. So when it comes to insurance agents, what do you think, like, that maybe the more successful agents are doing that the agents that maybe struggle, tend to not be doing?
I think it all comes down to consistency. I really think it comes down to consistency. So what I mean by that is a new agent understandably gets very excited, and then the moment something doesn't work, they get very discouraged very quickly. So what that leads to is a new agent latching on to everything that looks shiny and new, like, oh, this lead's going to work better. This FMO is going to support me better. This product pays better commission. And I understand that this can be difficult and frustrating, but your best bet is to pick one tried and true method, right? So maybe it's seminars for T65s. Maybe it's Facebook leads for final expense. Maybe it's direct mail leads for Medicare supplements. And give it the good old college try. Give it 6 months. Don't start until you have committed a budget to it that I can afford to do this for a few months. Plug into all of your training resources and give it some consistency. After 6 months or however long you give yourself, if it's still not working, then you can go to plan B. But that's what I find. It's that people just don't stick with something long enough to learn how to work effectively those leads in that product type. That would be my biggest advice.
What do you think the main reasons are for agents who fail when they go to a good FMO like what you described that has, pretty much everything that you need to be successful?
Yeah. So in other words, they start in a good situation. Like they've got the support they need. Okay. Yeah. 2 reasons. Number one is, they don't have the money to afford leads or gas or pay their bills while they're getting started. So they're getting the training. They know where to get their leads. They want to go work, but they just didn't prepare financially to be able to survive to get going. So I think that's number one. And number two, if they're in a good situation, is maybe they weren't honest with themselves when they got into it. And what I mean by that is they're trying to work on a full-time job and do this on the side, so they couldn't commit the time. They have never been in a sales situation and they thought they'd be great on the phones. They weren't honest with themselves, and they just aren't the type of person to be able to take a lot of no's and have thick skin when people reject them. So I think you've really got to evaluate yourself, your personal situation, and your strengths and weaknesses before you jump into this. Because a lot of times people just find out 2 months in, they literally are not built for this, or it's just not the time of life that they can commit to it.
I had an agent. It reminds me of this young lady about 2 years ago, and she stuck it out with us for most of the year, was with us. It had to be at least 7 to 8 months. She did really well. During that time, she made over $70,000 in profit. Even with the chargebacks, we figured that she made over $70,000. She had a hard time dealing with the pressure. She literally went back to her old job, making $60-something thousand a year, having to work for the man, so to speak, so that she didn't have to do what she was doing. And the crazy part, again, when we look at what she would have made, she was on target in her first year to make right around $100,000. And she just decided it wasn't for her.
And that's okay, right? And that's kind of why I said, like, be honest with yourself, give yourself a time frame, stick to it. And if it still doesn't work out, then you can do what your friend, your agent did, which is fine. Like, life's not all about money. Sometimes it's about also enjoying what you're doing. So,
peace of mind.
Yep, that's right.
What advice would you give a new agent who wants to build a team and have their own insurance agency? And I ask you that because I know you've been there.
Yeah, I think first of all, that's a great aspiration because there is very few things that like somebody from anywhere with any background with you don't have to have like some fancy degree, you can make it's very lucrative to build an insurance agency and to recruit agents. So that's an awesome aspiration. What I would warn agents about to think about is two things. Number one, do you want to manage people? Do you truly like spending your days encouraging, pulling along, training, listening to people vent and complain and still maintaining a positive attitude? It really is a game of management. It's almost like parenting or coaching or teaching, like in an elementary school, in terms of like the amount of emotional needs that a new agent has. So if you love that, you love doing that, you're probably going to like building an agency. Then second thing I would tell you is however many agents you think you need to recruit to be a successful recruiter or agency owner or whatever you're doing, multiply it by like 5. So if you think, man, if I just could like talk to 10 agents and recruit 5 of them, I'd really start making some good money. So the reality is you'd have to talk to 50 and keep 10 to even begin scratching the surface. So it's a big payoff, but it's a steep hill to climb because you got to really talk to a lot of people to get those good agents under you. I don't know if that's helpful. And also I would say this, you can make a lot of money just as a producer with none of that other stress. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So evaluate the two and be honest with yourself about what you want in life. I think the best thing about being solely a producer is you can realistically make high 6 figures and work less than the average American. As a recruiter or agency owner, you're probably never going to do that. You're going to make a lot of money, but you're probably never going to work like 30 hours a week, 20 hours a week, because it requires more of your attention and effort to be a recruiter. So I don't know if that was helpful, but just some insight from my experience.
Now, we know Medicare has been making changes. It feels like more changes over the past maybe couple of years than, during a short period of time like that. And I'm speaking with agents who are saying, look, Doug, I'm reaching out to you. I really want to specialize in final expense. I've been doing Medicare for years, but the changes are kind of driving me nuts. What advice would you have for those agents?
Yeah, I would say that's not unwise to be worried about that. What's the term? I'm hoping for the best and expecting the worst. So as you kind of look over the last few years, it's been a confluence of several things. One of those is just there really has been like fraud and abuse within the industry that's catching up with it. Then there has been legislative changes that have tightened up on the funding for the Medicare plans. Then there has been economic situations that have made these big Medicare carriers contract. In other words, they want to cut costs and maybe not offer plans in as many areas. Those are real concerns. Plus, compliance has gotten harder and harder over the last 2 to 3 years. Got to record your calls. Got to say this in every phone call. Got to get a scope of appointment that is really worthless. A lot of compliance that doesn't make sense. It doesn't really help anyone. So you have to be willing to deal with that. But it's a unique time to get into this business because either everything's going to continue going downhill and like Medicare's not going to be very good really quickly, or this was a great time to get in and because it's like with anything, if you can survive the storm and then things start to level out and get better, you're going to be like, man, my renewals are nice. So I think that getting into the Medicare business right now is a risk. It's a gamble. It's a great business to be in, but it could be very bad for agents soon, or it could be a big payoff for sticking it out. So if you get into this business, a lot of upside, lots of people to help, have a backup plan, learn how to sell final expense, I'll tell you, like for me, I do annuities and home and auto. Those two things diversify me where I don't have to lose sleep at night. Now, I'm not saying a new agent should try to do all three of those at once. I'm saying over time, I've built a local agency that can do more than one line of insurance, because it's not a lie that there's a concern for the future for Medicare agents. So,
what advice would you give a new agent that would help them to have better results faster so that they can have a higher chance of being successful?
Yep. Two things. I'll keep this short, sweet, and simple. First thing is your plan needs to revolve around how you can visit with the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time. That's what your plan should revolve around. How do I either talk to or sit with the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time? That is going to be the faster you sit in front of quality prospects, the higher your likelihood of success shoots up early on. The longer it takes you to sit your first few appointments, your success rate plummets and you'll likely be out of the business soon. Secondly, if you need to pick a good FMO or agency that has a plan. They want to help you and they have tangible, practical ways to help you. If you're truly on an island and all your FMO or agency did was get you contracts, your likelihood of success is much lower. So take your time, ask your FMO or agency the tough questions like, how can you guys assist me? How can you coach me? What direction are you going to point me in? Those would be my two things.
Kenny, awesome stuff. Thank you for all the value and content that you just shared with us. And once again, thank you very much for being here. We will look forward to seeing you again. We got to do another one of these again soon too.
I love it. I love watching your videos, your energy. You have a great personality for this type of thing. So thank you for all you do, Doug.